You've been saving money religiously for 5 years. Every month, like clockwork, you put away $500. You feel so responsible, so smart. You check your savings account and see $30,000 sitting there. You're proud of yourself. But here's the thing that nobody tells you. You might actually be losing money. And I'm going to prove it to you with some simple math that's going to completely change how you think about saving. My name is Dave, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart people make terrible financial decisions. If you're someone who has money sitting in a savings account thinking you're doing the responsible thing, but you're not sure if there's a better way, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to see your savings account completely differently. So let's start with what we've all been taught since we were kids. Save your money. Put in the bank. And for the most part, this advice isn't wrong. I mean, having savings is absolutely better than having nothing. But here's what most people don't realize. There's a massive difference between saving money and building wealth. And confusing these two things is costing the average American thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars every single year. Let me show you what I'm talking about with a real example. Let's say you're 25 years old and you start putting $500 a month into a regular savings account. The national average interest rate for savings accounts right now, according to the FDIC, is about 0.46%. Yeah, less than 0.5%. Some banks are even lower. Now you might be thinking, okay, Dave, but at least it's something, right? Now hold on. Let me finish the math because this is where it gets really interesting. After 1 year, you've saved $6,000 of your own money. With that 0.46% interest, you've earned about $14. For an entire year. You know what you can buy with $14? Maybe 2 coffees at a fancy coffee shop. But here's the really crazy part that we need to talk about. Inflation. Now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average inflation rate over the past decade has been around 2.5% to 3% per year. In recent years, we've seen it spike even higher, sometimes reaching 4%, 5%, even 8% in 2022. But let's be conservative and say inflation is running at just 3% per year. Here's what this means in simple terms. If inflation is 3%, that means the stuff you can buy with your money is getting 3% more expensive every year. So that's $6,000 you saved. To have the same buying power next year, you would actually need $6,180. But you only have $6,014 because of that tiny interest rate. You just lost $166 in purchasing power. Even though your account balance went up, what you can actually buy with that money went down. Let me say that again because this is the part that blows people's minds. Your savings account balance can go up while you're actually becoming poorer. This is the saving trap. I'm not making this up to scare you. This is basic economics. When your interest rate is lower than inflation, which it almost always is with regular savings accounts, your money is losing value just sitting there. It's like having a bucket with a tiny hole in it. You're pouring water in the top, but it's slowly leaking out the bottom, and most people never notice until years have passed. Now let's take this out over 30 years because that's when the real damage becomes obvious. You keep saving that $500 a month, every single month for 30 years. You're so disciplined. Everyone calls you the responsible one. You never miss a month. With a 0.46% interest rate, after 30 years, you'll have put in $180,000 of your own money, and with interest, you'll have about $194,000. Hey, that's almost $200,000, you might say. That's not bad, but wait. We need to account for inflation eating away at that money every single year. If we adjust for 3% inflation, that $194,000 has the buying power of only about $80,000 in today's dollars. You put in $180,000 over 30 years, and after inflation, it's worth less than half of what you contributed. That's terrifying when you actually see the numbers. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. What if instead of putting that money in a savings account, you put it somewhere that could keep up with or beat inflation? Let's say you put that same $500 a month into a simple, low-cost index fund that tracks the stock market. Historically, the stock market has returned an average of about 10% per year over long periods. According to data from institutions like Vanguard and looking at the S&P 500's historical performance. With a 10% average annual return, that same $500 a month over 30 years grows to over $1 million. Even after adjusting for 3% inflation, you're looking at over $400,000 in today's buying power. That's the difference between retiring comfortably and struggling to make ends meet. But what about safety? What if the stock market crashes? At least my savings account is guaranteed by the FDIC. And look, you're not wrong to think about safety. This is exactly the psychological trap that keeps people stuck. But I talk about index funds in this other video, which I'll leave in the description, where I explain in more detail what the trap is and how to get out of it while making more money. Here's the thing. Yes, your savings account is safe from going to zero. The FDIC insures it up to $250,000. But it's not safe from inflation. It's guaranteed to lose purchasing power over time. That's a 100% guaranteed loss of value. So you're protecting yourself from the wrong thing. Think about it like this. Imagine you're standing on a beach and there's a huge wave coming. You could stand there and say, well, at least I'm on solid ground, and then get completely washed away. Or you could get on a boat. Yeah, the boat might rock back and forth. It might even tip a little during a storm, but you're actually equipped to handle the wave. That's the difference between a savings account and investing. The stock market does go up and down in the short term. That's true. In 2008, it dropped significantly. In 2020, it had a sharp decline. But here's what the data shows. Over every single 20-year period in stock market history, the market has been positive. Every single. If you have a long time horizon, like the 30 years we're talking about, the ups and downs smooth out and you come out way ahead. But most people are so afraid of losing money that they choose the guaranteed loss of inflation instead of the temporary volatility of the market. It's a psychological trap, and it's incredibly hard to break out of because it feels safer to do nothing. Now, I'm not saying you should have $0 in a savings account. Please don't hear me saying that. You absolutely need an emergency fund. Most financial experts recommend having 3 to 6 months of expenses in an easily accessible savings account. That's your safety net for unexpected car repairs, medical bills, or if you lose your job. But here's what I see all the time. People with $30,000, $50,000, even $100,000 sitting in savings accounts earning basically nothing. That's not an emergency fund at that point. That's just money slowly losing value. Everything above your emergency fund should be working for you, not against you. Let me give you a really simple framework. Let's say your monthly expenses are $3,000. Your emergency fund should be somewhere between $9,000 and $18,000. That stays in a high-yield savings account where you can access it immediately. Everything else, that should be invested in something that can actually grow and beat inflation. Could be index funds, could be retirement accounts like a 401k or IRA, could be real estate eventually. The point is, it needs to be working harder than that 0.46%. Here's what most people don't realize. The reason we fall into the saving trap isn't because we're bad with money. It's because we've been taught the wrong lesson. We've been taught that saving is the goal. But saving isn't the goal. The goal is building wealth. The goal is having your money grow faster than prices are rising. The goal is making your money work for you instead of you working your entire life for money. There's a huge psychological shift that has to happen here. You have to stop seeing money as something to protect and start seeing it as a tool to deploy. Rich people don't have millions of dollars sitting in checking accounts. They have their money invested in assets that generate returns, that create income, that build more wealth. And look, I get it. It's scary to change your mindset when you've been doing something the same way for years. Your parents probably told you to save your money. Your grandparents definitely did. It's been drilled into your head that saving is responsible and investing is risky. But the world has changed. Inflation is higher than it used to be. Interest rates on savings accounts are lower than they used to be. The old advice doesn't work anymore. So what do you actually do about this? Let me give you 3 simple steps you can take this week. Not next month, not next year. This week. Step 1. Calculate your emergency fund number. Take your monthly expenses, multiply by 3 to 6 months, and that's how much should stay in a savings account. If you want to be extra safe, use 6 months. If you're comfortable with a bit more risk and have a stable job, 3 months is fine. Step 2. Everything above that emergency fund needs to find a better home. If you have a 401k at work, especially if they match contributions, that's your first stop. That match is literally free money. If you don't have a 401k, open an IRA. You can do this online in about 15 minutes with companies like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. Put your money in a simple, low-cost index fund. You don't need to be fancy. You don't need to pick individual stocks. A total market index fund or an S&P 500 index fund is perfect. Step 3. Set up automatic transfers. This is crucial. You want this to happen automatically every month so you don't have to think about it. Pay yourself first. The money goes from your checking account to your investment account before you have a chance to spend it. Automation removes the psychology. You can't mess up what you don't have to think about. Here's the beautiful part. Once you set this up, you basically just let it run. You're not day trading. You're not constantly checking it. You're just letting compound interest and market returns do their thing over time. It's boring. It's not exciting. But boring is what actually builds wealth. Look, I know this might feel overwhelming if you've never invested before. I know it might feel like you're making a mistake because it's different from what you've always done. But let me tell you something. The biggest financial mistake you can make is staying comfortable with the status quo when the status quo is slowly making you poorer. Every single month that you leave money sitting in a low-interest savings account, you're giving away your future. You're trading real wealth for the feeling of safety. And I'm telling you this because I genuinely want you to succeed. I want you to retire comfortably. I want you to not have to worry about money when you're 65 or 70 years old. But that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you made better decisions with your money today. The people who build real wealth aren't necessarily smarter than you. They're not necessarily making more money than you. They just understand that money needs to grow to be valuable. They understand that beating inflation isn't optional, it's required. And now you understand that too. I want to be really honest with you about something. When you start investing, you're going to see your account balance go down sometimes. It's going to happen. The market is going to have a bad month or a bad year, and you're going to feel nervous. You're going to want to pull everything out and put it back in your savings account where it feels safe. Don't do it. That's the moment where most people sabotage themselves. They invest when a market is high. They panic and sell when it's low, and then they tell everyone that investing doesn't work. But the people who build wealth, they stay invested through the ups and downs. They understand that temporary drops are just part of the process. They keep their eye on the 30-year goal, not the 30-day fluctuation. This is where discipline beats emotion every single time. Your feelings will tell you to sell. Your logic needs to remind you why you invested in the first place. So here's my challenge to you. Go look at your savings account balance right now. Calculate how much you actually need for emergencies, and make a plan for everything else. Don't let another year go by where inflation silently eats away at your wealth. Don't be the person who wakes up at 50 years old and realizes they've been losing money for 25 years. And look, please share this video with someone. Send it to a friend, send it to a family member, send it to a coworker. There's somebody in your life right now who has money sitting in a savings account thinking they're doing the right thing. And this information could literally change their financial trajectory. You might not even know who needs to hear this, but trust me, someone does. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, because we're going to keep breaking down these financial traps that keep people stuck. And speaking of traps, the next video we need to talk about is credit scores. Because just like with saving, there's a trap with credit scores that's costing people thousands of dollars, and most people have no idea they're caught in it. We're going to break down exactly how credit scores actually work, what really matters, and what's just a waste of your time and money. You're not going to want to miss that one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.